Hello, my friend. Welcome to How to Like Your Life, a brain training podcast for mindset transformation. I'm so glad that you're here. I'm Emilie. I'm a brain training specialist and hypnosis practitioner here to teach you how to harness your own inner power using the magic and science of brain training and self-hypnosis to transform your life and like your life. Let's dive in. Today, we're chatting about something a little bit different. So far on this podcast, we've been talking a lot about mental health and using brain training to support our mental well-being, to improve our sense of optimism, to reduce stress. But today, we're going to talk about how to use brain training and mental practices like hypnosis and visualization to support your physical self. More specifically, how to train your brain to strengthen and energize your body. I know for a lot of you that probably sounds too good to be true, but there's some amazing research on the mind-body connection that shows us that when we intentionally channel our focused attention and imagine things in a certain way and engage our minds, it has a really strong impact on our physical selves, on our strength, on our stamina, on our energy, on our health. I have personally seen this firsthand in the most extreme cases because I used hypnosis and visualization to heal my body from debilitating chronic illness. I talk a lot about this in my story episode, which was the second episode I ever posted. So if you're curious about that, make sure to check that out. But in a nutshell, I used self-hypnosis and brain retraining to go from being completely bedbound with chronic fatigue syndrome to strengthening and healing my body so much so that I walk 4 to 5 miles every single morning now. So that means that you can certainly use these tools to feel stronger, to feel more energized, to feel healthier. Because when we feel good physically, it can help us really like more of our lives and enjoy more of our experiences. I'm sure that I'm going to do many episodes on this mind-body connection and how you can support your health in a lot of different ways. But today I want to talk about exercise, because it's something that a lot of us want to do or something that a lot of us struggle with. Or if you already have an exercise routine in your life, this is an approach that you can take to get even stronger, to make it even easier for you to really reap the benefits of it even more. Before I introduce some of the practices that you can utilize regularly in your life, it's important to start by just acknowledging that there is a connection between the mind and the body. In modern medicine, they often separate those two things, and we go to a psychologist for our mental health, we go to a doctor for our physical health, but in reality, it is all interconnected. It is all interrelated through our nervous system, through the way that our body communicates information to our brain and vice versa. And a lot of people experience the mind-body connection kind of as a side effect to the things they're experiencing. So you might notice that when you are anxious or stressed, maybe your immune system is a little bit less strong, so you might be more likely to get sick. Some people experience symptoms of depression when they are going through something physically. And on a positive note, when you're in a good mood, you probably feel better in your body because all of these things are connected. But the amazing thing about the mind-body connection is that we can also harness it to create the change that we want to see in our health, both in our minds and in our bodies. And this is such a broad field. So today I want to scale it down to really talking about visualization and mental imagery as a tool to support both your mental health and your physical health, but mainly to serve your physical strength and energy. When I say mental imagery, I am talking about mentally rehearsing and imagining doing tasks or having experiences that aren't necessarily happening in the present moment. Kind of like daydreaming, where you might be driving in the car on the way home from work, but your mind is elsewhere. You might be imagining the trip that you're taking later in the month and kind of visualizing how nice it will be. A lot of people also use visualization not intentionally, but when they are worried or anxious about something, we mentally rehearse worst case scenarios all the time. We see it clearly in our minds. And as I'm sure you know, when you are worrying about something, it causes very real stress in the body. And what that means is that imagined circumstance is actually changing things in your physical body in the present moment, even though it's not real. You might be drifting off to sleep and worried about a job interview tomorrow and picturing yourself just totally failing at all of it, feeling completely mortified and humiliated. And as you're imagining this, your heart rate might increase. You might feel a little bit of shortness of breath. You might feel that stress and anxiety in your body. And this is because the subconscious mind processes imagination very similarly to reality. It doesn't really know the difference. Even though we consciously know we're not in that job interview right now, our bodies are responding as though we are. It's like when you watch a scary movie, you know you're sitting in the movie theater with your best friends and you're enjoying your popcorn and your candy, but your heart rate is through the roof. You're jumping and you're screaming and you're nervous and scared because your body doesn't know the difference. So this actually is really powerful because this means that you can use your imagination on purpose to create intentional change in your body, not just in how you're feeling emotionally, but also physiologically. You can strengthen your muscles, you can increase your stamina, you can boost your energy, and you can improve your physical skills using this wonderful thing that is your imagination. This is a tool that is used by athletes very often. And there's a very famous study from 1996 that was sort of the catalyst to people realizing just how powerful this can be. So at the University of Chicago, they wanted to understand the influence that visualization had on the accuracy of free throws in basketball players. So they split the players into 3 different groups. The first group was told not to practice or do anything relating to free throws or basketball for 30 days. So they did absolutely nothing. That was the control group. The second group did traditional practice. So they were asked to show up to the gym and practice shooting free throws for a half an hour every day for 30 days. And the third group was asked to come into the gym every day for 30 days, but instead of practicing for real, they spent a half an hour closing their eyes and visualizing successfully hitting every free throw. They mentally rehearsed their practice and they didn't do anything physically in real life. So the results are really where it gets mind-blowing. Of course, the group that didn't practice at all obviously showed no improvement. That was to be expected. The second group that showed up and practiced every day for real with their physical bodies showed a 24% improvement. But the third group, which had only visualized successful free throws, they only used their imagination and their minds, they showed a 23% improvement. So what this study is showing us is that mentally rehearsing a task, a very physical skill, is almost exactly as effective as practicing for real. It blows my mind every single time I read this study. Of course, there's a few caveats to this. The basketball players already knew how to shoot free throws, so if you have never played basketball in your life, but you want to mentally rehearse doing it, it's important that your body knows what it feels like to some degree. But this is showing us that if we pair mental rehearsal with real physical practice, it can accelerate our body's learning and precision so much more. In terms of strength, there's also some pretty mind-blowing research out there. In one study at the Lerner Research Institute, they had volunteers test their finger strength before they began a 12-week protocol. And they split the participants into 2 groups. So the first group showed up 5 days a week and did physical extensions and contractions of their pinky finger. So they bent and straightened their pinky over and over and over again. And the second group imagined doing this exercise for 5 days a week for 12 weeks. I'm sure that wasn't much fun for them, but the research results were totally worth it. The people who did the real exercises in real life experienced physical strength improvement by 53%, and the group who did the imagined exercises improved their physical strength by 35%. They got 35% stronger without lifting a finger, literally. Of course, that doesn't match the intensity and results of doing a physical activity, but 35% from doing nothing with their bodies, and they were able to strengthen their bodies. Can you imagine how incredibly supportive that would be to incorporate visualization in that way alongside your workouts, alongside attempts to strengthen your body in real life, it's incredible. And these little practice sessions, when they were working on strengthening them, either in real life or in imagination, were for 15 minutes a day. So if you took 15 minutes out of your day, in addition to your actual exercise, that is so powerful in accelerating your body's ability to grow your strength. On top of this, visualization can also promote healing and repair in our cells. This has been shown in countless studies around hypnosis and visualization, specifically for surgical recovery, which can be applied very easily to sports recovery as well. Plus, it boosts our motivation. It creates a positive association with those exercises because our brains are going to start to trust that they aren't so effortful. And when I was recovering from chronic illness, I experienced this in a really big way with my stamina in addition to my strength. So the practices that I will talk you through in this episode will be kind of similar to the things that I did in recovery that I now apply to workouts and exercise and building my body's ability to do more things. So without further ado, I want to share the approach that I've created that I haven't really seen anyone else do in this way that has been so life-changing. And I'm going to walk you through it step by step so that you can really start to apply it into your own life with anything that you're doing to strengthen your body in any way. And this is not just for people who are really into working out. This is not just about bodybuilding. This is something that you can use even when you're just going for a walk or doing a little bit of yoga or stretching. It can really be any type of movement or physical activity of any kind. Or honestly, if you are dealing with chronic fatigue or chronic illness and you have a difficult relationship with movement and it tends to sort of wipe you out, this practice can be applied to any kind of physical exertion. So if cleaning the house is a lot for you, apply it to that. It's really open-ended and it supports anyone and everyone who wants to create a new relationship with movement and also increase your energy levels and physical abilities. This practice is a kind of bookended approach to pair with the movement that you are doing in your day. So there's a visualization you can do right before you move your body. There's some things that you can consider and channel your energy into as you are exercising. And then there's another visualization practice to do immediately after. So you really want to create a wonderful little bookend of positive visualizations around the act of exercising. The first practice, before you even get up to do any kind of real exercise, is to mentally rehearse yourself going through it. Imagining yourself doing those physical movements and picturing it being easy. There, of course, is a guided version of this visualization practice in the Doddle Hypnosis app, which you can find in the show notes. But if you want to do this on your own, you totally could. So I would recommend finding a quiet place, closing your eyes, taking maybe 5 to 10 long, slow, deep breaths to really calm the body. And then right before you visualize your workout, I want you to actually bring your mind back to a moment in your past that brought you a sense of joy. It could have been something from childhood or something that made you smile or laugh, or a moment in your life where you felt good, where you felt joyful or fulfilled or confident, and really interact with that scenario as though it's happening. Really focus on the sights, sounds, smells, tastes, sensations, and emotions of that joyful memory. And that'll start to conjure up a very real physiological and emotional response in your body, bringing you a sense of joy. And once you can feel that joy physically, I want you to then hold on to that emotion, but mentally rehearse yourself doing your workout. Mentally rehearse those exercises. Imagine what it would be like if it felt good and joyful to go through them. Picture yourself doing it with energy, maybe even imagining yourself laughing as you're doing this. And the reason we want to pair joy with these exercises is because positive emotional intensity is really going to help the brain learn this new way of approaching your movements. The brain learns from experience more than anything. And when emotions are strong, the experience is going to be stronger. And so your brain's going to learn from it so much faster, and it's going to create such a wonderful positive association with the things that you're doing. And on top of that, it's going to build motivation because your brain will start to associate those activities with joy, with feeling good. It's going to predict that it will feel good to move your body. And because it has that association, it's more likely to feel good when you actually do it. And this practice doesn't have to be long. It could be 4 or 5 minutes. And even just doing that, you are setting yourself up for a much more positive experience when you're actually doing those things in real life. I'd like to quickly interrupt this episode to share a bit about how you can make it easier to like your life using my hypnosis app, Dawdle. What you might not know is that every single episode of this How to Like Your Life podcast is paired with a recommended guided hypnosis session on the Dawdle app to help you enhance the practices that we're talking about here so you don't have to figure it out all on your own. On the app, you'll also find tons and tons of full-length hypnosis sessions to help you in so many areas of your life, including relaxation, stress relief, focus, motivation, joy, confidence, health and healing, sleep, getting in touch with your goals, and so much more. There's also a whole library of eyes open hypnosis for you to listen to while you're doing things actively, while walking, while showering. There's also a library of mood shifters, which are practices that are under 5 minutes, designed to help you get out of a stress response fast and feel better quickly. So in this podcast, I'll teach you how to like your life, and on Dawdle, it'll become a very easy task. So make sure to try out Dawdle for free for 7 days, and you can find the download links in the show notes. Now let's get back to the episode. So once you're ready to actually start moving, as you are doing your workout, your exercises, your walk, whatever physical activity it is that you've chosen, even if it's just a walk around the block, I want you to put your focused attention on parts of the experience that feel good in some way. Because what we put our focused attention on is amplified in our minds and informs our experience. So rather than thinking, I don't want to work out right now, this is horrible, this is too hard, I'm not strong enough, if you instead channel your focused attention onto how good it feels to take a deep breath, or focus on how proud you are of yourself for showing up and moving your body in a way that supports you, that's going to help reduce the stress around the experience that you're having. It's going to make it more enjoyable, and it's going to help you feel stronger as you're doing it. In my hypnosis training, back when I was studying clinical hypnosis in my master's program, one of my instructors did a demonstration where they had a client get up and put one of their arms out straight to the side and kind of hold it in a rigid way. And they told the client to keep their arm out really rigidly and resist as the hypnotherapist attempted to push their arm down. So they were basically just doing their best to keep their arm out straight, using all their strength as the hypnotherapist tried to push their arm down to the floor. I hope that this makes sense in an audio-based platform because I saw this visually, but bear with me. So as they were doing this, the hypnotherapist then asked the client to keep their arms out and repeat the sentence, "I'm weak, I'm weak, I'm weak," over and over and over again. And as they did that, they pushed their arm down, and immediately the client's arm fell straight down. They still tried their best to resist it. They tried as much as they could, but simply by focusing their attention on their weakness, they failed. So then after that, the hypnotherapist then asked the client to say, "I'm strong, I'm strong, I'm strong, I'm strong," over and over and over again as the hypnotherapist pushed on their arm, and they did not budge. And the client was asked a few questions afterwards, after this demonstration in my class, and they said they weren't really intentionally doing anything differently. They were still trying their best to resist, but as soon as they said, "I'm weak," they felt it. And no matter how hard they tried to resist, as they focused on their weakness, the exercise didn't work. They weren't strong enough to hold up their arm. So bringing this back to your movement, your exercises, it's really important to channel your attention onto what's going well, onto the strength that you have. It doesn't mean that the exercises are going to be easy. You might be lifting really heavy weights or doing something that's really intense for you. But as you tell yourself that you're strong, your body's going to start to respond. And that alone is going to make a really big difference in helping you to build that stamina and feel more hopeful and trusting in your body's abilities as you do this. And then after you complete whatever physical activity it is that you're doing, I would recommend adding one more little visualization practice where you, again, close your eyes in a quiet place, take some deep breaths, calm your body down, lower your heart rate if you're still kind of activated from the workout. And then I want you to visualize the workout that you just had, but imagining it being more intense than it actually was and picturing it being easy and enjoyable for you. So I use this practice a lot. This is something that I turn to anytime I want to build my stamina, anytime I'm experiencing any kind of fatigue. I used this a lot when I was recovering from long COVID. The way that I implement this is I go for walks every single day. It's my favorite thing in the entire world. I go for about 2 to 4 miles. And at the end of every walk, I visualize running it instead. So I imagine going down the route that I actually walked, but I pictured myself sprinting and feeling really good and free and strong. And I imagine it as though it was more of an intense workout than it was. For weights training, you might imagine doing the same kinds of exercises and movements that you did, but picturing it as a heavier weight or imagining yourself doing more reps. And because the subconscious mind and the body don't really know the difference between imagination and reality, by pairing that imagery of it being more intense or more physically demanding and picturing it being easy, our bodies are processing that as though it's a real experience. So it's starting to create an association with something that's a little bit beyond your current training zone, which can ultimately help your brain and your body be prepared to level it up in the future. And as we know from that pinky exercise study, when you imagine yourself doing exercise, it strengthens the body. So even though I don't go for runs, when I visualize myself running, it makes my fast walks easier. And eventually, maybe, hopefully, I will become a runner because that is kind of the goal where I'm headed. And every single day that I do that, I feel more and more trusting in my ability that I could run if I wanted to. The biggest thing is I honestly just haven't wanted to because I really love my leisurely strolls through Central Park. But either way, this bookended practice of visualizing it going well, infusing a sense of joy into it, and then really focusing your attention on your strength as you're doing it, affirming your strength with an experience that's proving it to be true, and then visualizing yourself having done something that was a little bit more intense than what you actually did is going to help teach your body how to level up. It's going to teach your body how to become stronger. It's going to create a sense of ease within the movement activities that you choose. It'll allow you to do more with less exertion, and you will get stronger faster. And it makes the process just so much more enjoyable. And as I said before, this does not have to be for a big workout. If you are experiencing any kind of chronic illness or disability, you can apply this to movement that is within your training zone. Apply it to things that you do that you'd like to create a more positive association with. And it's really, really going to help. This is essentially the practice that I used in addition to a bunch of other modalities, but this is really one of the key things that I did to build up my strength and my stamina as I was recovering from severe chronic fatigue syndrome. Something else that I really, really want to emphasize is that I do not recommend jumping into a really hard, intense workout that is outside of your current physical abilities. If you are used to just going for a half a mile walk, using these practices doesn't suddenly mean that you should go for a 5K run. Build it up gradually the way that you would anyway, but pairing these visualization practices with it is going to help make that process easier, and it might make it a little bit easier to accelerate how quickly you level up. But please be safe. This is not medical advice. I am not a doctor. I am not your doctor. If you are unsure of what physical activity is right for you and your body and the way that your body works, please talk to your medical professionals and use common sense and be safe, because your safety and your well-being is the most important thing. I am just sharing what has worked for me, what I have seen has worked for other people, and what the research really supports. Of course, it is much easier to do these kinds of visualization practices when we're guided, particularly when it is in a hypnosis process, because hypnosis helps to deeply relax the mind and body and quiet the buzzy conscious thoughts that often come up when we're trying to force visualizations in our minds. It turns down the volume on that part of us and opens up our imaginative subconscious mind so much easier. And I really want to give people access to these kinds of practices. So if you want to incorporate this into your life, I do have a hypnosis app called Doddle, Doddle. And it's funny, the reason I named it Doddle is because the word dawdle means a very easy task, and hypnosis makes it easy to create really intentional change in the mind and the body, which applies so much to the conversation we're having here today. And Doddle is actually paired with this podcast, with How to Like Your Life. So for every single episode that you will listen to on this podcast, you will find a library that has a suggested guided practice to go along with the things we're talking about. So in the Doddle app, you'll find multiple different visualizations and hypnosis sessions to allow you to have a practice to listen to beforehand and after doing your workouts. And I also do have a whole library of walking hypnosis sessions. So you could even listen to something while you are out and walking or going for a run to really anchor those positive feelings into your movement activities. Now, Doddle is free to try for 7 days. So you can try it out risk-free. You can cancel at any time and start listening to these practices, incorporating it into whenever you move your body, and start to see how you feel. It does take time to change the brain. It's not magic. It's not mind control. It's science and training. So in the same way that you would strengthen your body, you really need to show up to the gym frequently or do those movements often in order to build that strength. And in the same way, as you are creating new neural pathways in the brain, repetition is key. So give them a try. All the info about Doddle is in my show notes. And if you want additional resources to train your brain, to build your confidence, increase your access to joy, really work through your inner limitations and limiting beliefs so that you can like more of your life, I do also host a 6-week masterclass called Hypnotic Empowerment a couple times a year. It's a live 6-week online course with live group calls. There's video lessons, there's guided hypnosis sessions, worksheets, a private forum, and I will take you through a series of hypnosis and brain training protocols to help you really get out of your own way and feel better more often and have the tools to navigate the challenges that you face in your life. So if you're interested in really hitting that reset button on how you feel, make sure to check out the info in the show notes about the upcoming cohort. And if you liked this podcast, if you got something out of it, please make sure to subscribe so that you don't miss any future episodes. If you feel so inclined, please also rate and review this podcast. It is so helpful for creators like me. These reviews really help us reach more people and continue to allow these resources to be free for everyone, because I think that everyone should know how to retrain their brains to like more of their lives, because you are so capable of changing your life, of liking your life, of feeling better. And you have all of these inner resources within you. You already have access to your imagination. You have access to so much strength. And I can't wait to hear how it goes as you try these practices that we talked about today. So please post on your Instagram story, let me know, tag me, and tune in for future episodes to learn more ways to retrain your brain to like your life. You've been listening to the How to Like Your Life podcast. This is Emilie Lies. It has been so wonderful chatting with you, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye, friend.